Dr. Kethara floated gracefully above the pristine white floor of the Galactic Medical Academy's main lecture hall, her translucent tentacles adjusting the holographic displays with practiced ease. Today marked a special occasion, the first interspecies emergency medicine seminar, featuring students from 12 different worlds, including their newest member species, humans. The human representative, Dr. Sarah Chen, sat somewhat awkwardly in the center of the amphitheater, surrounded by her alien classmates. To her left, the delicate Siltharine students resembled living flowers, their petal-like appendages rustling softly. To her right, the crystalline Zephyrians chimed melodically with each thought. The massive, slug-like Molari oozed contentment from their specialized seating, while the insectoid Crixtail clicked their mandibles in anticipation. Today, we shall explore emergency medical protocols across cultures, Dr. Kethara announced, her voice carrying through the universal translators. Each species will demonstrate their traditional first aid techniques for common injuries. We shall begin with a simple scenario, treating a severed appendage. The Siltharine student, Petalshay, flowered forward first. With graceful movements, she demonstrated their technique, gently singing to the injured area while secreting a healing nectar that would slowly regenerate the lost limb over several lunar cycles. The other students hummed approvingly at the elegant, peaceful solution. Next came Zixnol from the crystal world of Quartos. They demonstrated their people's method of harmonic resonance healing, using specific sound frequencies to encourage cellular reconstruction. The process was beautiful to watch, with light patterns dancing through their crystalline form as they worked. The Molari student, Glubthor, showed how their species used enzymatic secretions to gradually dissolve damaged tissue and encourage regrowth, a process that took considerable time but left no scarring. Each demonstration was met with appreciative musical tones and bioluminescent displays of approval from the diverse audience. The techniques were all elegant, slow, and apparently painless. Fascinating methodologies, Dr. Kethara commented. Now, let us hear from our Deathworlder representative. Dr. Chen, how do humans address appendage trauma? Sarah stood up, her movement causing several of the more delicate species to instinctively recoil, a reaction she'd grown accustomed to since joining the academy. Well, she began, it depends on the severity and type of injury, but I'll demonstrate our approach to a completely severed limb with active bleeding. She moved to the demonstration area and activated the holographic medical dummy. First, we need to control the bleeding immediately. Without warning, she grabbed the simulated severed arm and pressed it firmly against the wound site. Several Siltharine students gasped in harmonious dismay. We applied direct pressure to stop blood loss, Sarah continued, seemingly oblivious to the growing alarm in her audience. If pressure doesn't work, we might need to use a tourniquet. She wrapped a band around the dummy's upper arm and twisted it tight with a metal rod. The crystalline Zephyrian student, Chorus Tell, began resonating at a frequency that translated roughly to horrified disbelief. You're cutting off all circulation to the limb. Temporarily, yes, Sarah nodded matter-of-factly. It's better than bleeding to death. We have about 6 hours before permanent damage occurs. Dr. Kethara's tentacles were now a deep purple, a color Sarah had learned indicated extreme concern. Dr. Chen, this seems unnecessarily violent. Surely you then begin regeneration therapy. Oh, we can't regenerate limbs, Sarah replied casually, causing what she was beginning to recognize as universal shocked silence. If we can't reattach the original appendage within a few hours, it's gone permanently. That's why we have to work fast. She demonstrated the reattachment procedure, explaining how human medics would clean both surfaces, align bone fragments, reconnect blood vessels and nerves, then suture everything back together. The alien students watched in growing horror as she described drilling into bones to insert metal pins and screws. You deliberately damaged the bone further?" whispered Softgirl, a Molari student whose body had turned an alarming shade of grey-green. "Sometimes we have to break bones to set them properly," Sarah confirmed. "And if there's infection, we might need to cut away dead tissue. We call it debridement." The Crickstyle student, Mandible Click, began making rapid clicking sounds that the translator struggled to process, finally settling on error, error, barbaric, impossible error. The entire class was now in various states of shock, distress, or unconsciousness. "The anesthesia helps," Sarah added helpfully. "They don't feel most of it." Dr. Kithara managed to compose herself enough to speak. "Dr. Chen, these methods seem extreme. How do patients survive such trauma?" Sarah shrugged. "Humans are pretty tough. We have to be living on a death world. Our bones are dense, our pain tolerance is high, and our bodies can withstand a lot of damage. What looks brutal to you is just Tuesday afternoon in a human emergency room." She looked around at her horrified classmates with genuine confusion. "How do you handle emergency situations if you can't use aggressive intervention?" The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Finally, Dr. Kethara spoke in a very small voice. We generally avoid having emergencies." "Oh," Sarah mused. "That must be nice. On Earth, emergencies happen constantly. Car accidents, industrial incidents, sports injuries, natural disasters, wars." She trailed off, noticing that several more students had fainted. Should I call for medical assistance?" "No," came the unified response from every conscious alien in the room. Dr. Kithara quickly dismissed the class early, floating over to where Sarah was packing up her demonstration materials. "Dr. Chen, perhaps for future seminars we might ease our students into Deathworlder medical practices more gradually." Sarah nodded understandingly. "Sure thing. I was going to cover battlefield surgery and combat medicine next week, but maybe we should start with something simpler." "Simpler?" Dr. Kithara asked hopefully. "Yeah, like basic wound cleaning and bandaging. Though I guess I should warn you, we use alcohol and hydrogen peroxide to sterilize cuts. It burns quite a bit." Dr. Kithara's tentacles turned pale again. "Perhaps we should begin with theoretical discussions for several months or years." As Sarah left the lecture hall, she could hear the remaining conscious students having what sounded like very distressed conversations about humans and their aggressive healing rituals. She made a mental note to ask the Academy's counseling department if they needed to add a trauma therapy program. After all, her classmates would need to recover from today's lesson before they could handle learning about human dentistry.